All right. So, first of all, welcome to my panel, A History of My Little Pony. And I've just recently finished university, so I'm used to always doing this for every slideshow. So we have a topics list. So the vain section about me, because I'm vain. A timeline, then My Pretty Pony, generations 1, 2, 3, 3.5, generation 4, generation 4.5, and the future of My Little Pony. And then we'll do a questions and answers section as well. You can see I've got a few bits on display. I flew over here and I couldn't really bring too many ponies, I'm afraid, but here's a few of my favorites. So let's get started. Just about me. So I am not an expert by any sense of the word, but I'm a huge fan of My Little Pony. And G2, My Little Pony's been with me my entire life, really. So I remember Christmas morning waking up and opening up a whole bunch of G2, and there's lovely pictures of me absolutely destroying the packaging when I was about 7 years old. So that's great. I began collecting them seriously a few years ago. So when the big hype in 2010 came with Friendship is Magic, I was just obsessed again, and I found my childhood collection, and it is a very dangerous spiral moving from every single generation. I can't speak German, so if you have any questions, please could you speak them in English? That would be brilliant. Thank you. So let's start on. So we've got a timeline. So we'll go through the years. So we have My Pretty Pony, 1981, where it all began. G1 was 1982 to 1992. G2, 1997 to 2003. G3, 2003 to 2009. G3.5, 2009 to 2010. And G4, 2010 to 2018. But then you've got G4.5, 2017 to question mark. And you'll see why I've gone G4.5, because this is mostly focusing on the actual figures that came out, not the cartoons. Also, these timelines are they vary per country because productions were very different. So, for example, G2 in America were only released for a year, whereas we had the massive span in Europe. So this is why they're not hugely popular, unfortunately, which makes me really sad, and you'll probably hear me rant about them a bit later on. So anyway, so My Pretty Pony. A lot of my photos, my close friend Sparkler helped me provide, because this is what I want. I want one of these so badly, but I can never find one at a decent price. It doesn't make me think I can't eat for the next 3 years. So My Pretty Pony, you can see quite big. You can see there's a G4 rarity in comparison just there. So yeah, quite huge. So most people think it starts from G1, but it starts a lot less pastel and a lot more beige. So you can see it looks more like a normal horse in a way. So 1981, where it all began. So commonly known to collectors as Gen 0, because if you look at this packaging, it looks completely different to the packaging you'll see throughout the other generations. It was aimed for preschool, so you can see it looks more preschooly in a way. And it came with accessories. They're more horse-like, and only the second release, they became more like a giant version G1. So this one over here is actually a version of Peachy. Most people are like, oh, is it a custom one? But no, they actually did release it in the second wave, which is quite exciting. And I would kill to have either of these. So this is probably why Sparkle was like, yeah, let me send you photos, not let you borrow them. So this is the reason we're all here. This person, and I'm really bad at pronouncing the name, because I only realised when I was doing a bit more research that I've been saying it completely wrong. So Bonnie Zacherl, the reason we're all here today, as I've just said, they had a dream of designing a horse toy, but they had lots of rejection, and the idea came from childhood. So she had a horse. Well, she didn't have a horse. She petted with a horse and was friends with a horse. And when they moved back to the USA, they couldn't bring the horse with them. And she always wanted a horse again. And then she wanted to give that joy to kids that couldn't have horses, but let them have sense of having their own horse. And I probably said the word horse about 12 times. And so My Pretty Pony began. And she was given an opportunity to design a toy, which became My Pretty Pony. And that was good. And then one day, I've forgotten what position they are, but kind of like a chief executive's wife was like, how about you make them more pastel or smaller and softer? So My Little Pony was born. So I don't know whether I'm going to click and there's going to be another one, but to begin with, Bonnie was like, I don't know whether I want to make it pastel colours and smaller and softer, because from the start, she was determined that this would be a unisex toy for both boys and girls. So I always find that amazing, and she loves the fact that everyone can enjoy My Little Pony still today. So it doesn't matter where you're from, what gender you are, it's for everyone, which I think is really lovely to be that was the main mission statement from her regarding G1 and is reliable today. You can still relate to it. All right, so generation 1. So in the corner here, you see Pony Bride in the packaging. So a massive contrast to the bulky preschool-esque one, and these are pretty. So again, Sparkler, I promised I would get her picture of one of her Pony Brides in. So here you go. And yeah, so they're a lot more feminine shape, but there are boys, which I haven't got any pictures of or any in my collection, which makes me actually quite sad. But anyway, so after being suggested to make the pony softer, because also with My Pretty Pony, they were of solid plastic, whereas G1s are quite soft. Originally started off with 6 ponies, so Snuzzle, Butterscotch, Bluebell, Minty, Blossom, and Cotton Candy. And they very nearly didn't make it to the public market, but because at the toy fair, they didn't come across as that popular, which I find surprising. But Bonnie stood her ground. She was like, no, I think it's going to be popular. And the wife of the chief exec was like, yeah, I think it'll be popular. And as soon as they were released, they flew off the shelves. So it started with the original 6, but more characters were developed, such as unicorns, Pegasus, fuzzy so-soft ponies, twinkle eye ponies, and many more. So you think there's a lot of variation with G4, but here there's loads. So one of my ponies here is this very little sad Minty, but she's actually an original 1982. She's been through the wars. I got her from a second-hand shop. But she's the original pose, so this is what they all originally look like. But then you'll see there's other G1s down here. But you can all come and have a look at them afterwards for a closer look, because I don't think it's very great me just holding up and waving around. So Gen 1 had loads of poses. So here is a picture of loads of poses. And there's about 20 poses all in all. So becoming a G1 collector is a pretty dangerous thing because you want everything. And trust me, my spare bedroom is full. So you have like the collector / fat put pose, which is my Minty there. You have the bow tie pose, which I'm 90% sure is this little parasol here. So the little shy face, like ducking away. Then you can see all those. Bride pose was the bride that we saw, but I mentioned about there being male G1. So this is, I want to say Barnacle. I'm not the best with names, but they had more feathered hooves, and they always had really cool outfits, and I really want to own one. But then you also have your babies, your sea ponies, and yeah, you had everything, really. So the G1 main 6. So comparing it to modern day, we always talk about the predecessors of the main 6. So there's been a lot of discussion about who we think the G1 predecessors are. So this is one interpretation, is here. So hopefully I've written the names because I forget some of them. So we have Applejack here, staying all the way through, which is lovely. And Spike here, a lot more dragon-like, I think. Then you've got Twilight here as well. And then we have Sparkler for Rarity. They share pretty much the same cutie mark, just a bit more diamond. And she was one that likes boutique-y things. And Posy is here. And no, I might be wrong. But I've just realized I've missed out Firefly was Rainbow Dash. I want to say that's Posy. Is that Surprise? See, I told you I am not an expert. That's Posy, and that's Surprise. It's the wings that confuse me, okay? So yeah, so this is a much discussed thing of what they could be from, because they all share the same sort of attributes. G2. So this is a bit of my collection. You can see I want to say this is half my collection, but it's really not. It's more like an eighth. You can see some cheeky G3 and G4 just chilling there. So these are all mine, the little babies, and I love G2s, like honestly. So I'm going to try and talk through this section really quick because I could talk about them for about a year. So the best generation. Loads of people don't like them, but I love them. So they only first produced in 1997, ran worldwide for only a year, as I said before, but continued across Europe till 2003. It had more elaborate play sets in G1. Well, ish, just because there was a lot more things that required batteries and had more sound, whereas G1 you have like Paradise Estate, which is absolutely bizarre for how many parts, but yeah, these one, I just love G2. There was no Pegasus ponies per se, but there were a few unicorns. Whatever Pegasus ponies they had butterfly wings, so you can clip them on and take off, which I don't have any in my collection. I lost my wings. I've only got the ponies they're meant to go with, which is really sad. But the unicorns, they're quite rare as well. You have Princess Silver Swirl is here, probably my only unicorn. Yeah, my only unicorn, which is, again, sad. The only downside is they have crystal eyes. I can't really show you close up, but instead of having painted on eyes, they have little gems as their eyeballs. And when one falls out, it kind of looks a bit creepy. And a lot of mine don't have both eyes, but you can, well, it's going to be my challenge to make sure I go through and put some new eyes on. But I think they make them look really pretty. Magic Motion ponies. So I didn't put a picture of these in, which I've just realized. So Magic Motion ponies were actually ponies that moved. So you turn the head and their legs just go whoop, whoop. So they were actual movable ponies, and you had magnetic ponies, and there was just a whole bunch of less static ponies compared to G1. And there were male ponies as well, but there wasn't much different. So if I go up to this one here, that's Clever Clover, and that's a male pony. But you can't really, if I went pick me out a male pony, I don't really think there's much difference. So G3, G3 were made between 2003 and 2009, although in 2010 there was a few other little ponies made for special occasions. It included all Earth, Pegasus, and Unicorn ponies. And there's lots of characters, including some we see today. So G3 predecessors. So here we have Sweetie Belle and Cheerilee, looking a bit, they're the same sort of colours, but still not quite there. And then we have these three, which I always find quite funny. We have Rarity here. So pink and still a unicorn, but pink with a yellow mane. Doesn't scream Rarity to me much. Then we have Pinkie Pie, still with the same cutie mark, so you can see it's not quite too far different. And then Rainbow Dash is here which Rainbow Dashes is a complete makeover. Like, I have this Rainbow Dash here, and it's like, take Rainbow Dash to the boutique so you can go shopping and buy clothes. And I'm like, that's not the Rainbow Dash we know today. So that's more of rarity style. So G3.5, in the collector world, you don't really talk about G3.5. I was like, oh, I want to skip it, but then I was told, no, you have to talk about it. And I was like, okay. And I own none of these in my collection. So again, I had to rely on my friend Sparkler to take the picture. And yeah, oh, they're really scary. Yeah, no one speaks about G3.5, but I will today. They have abnormally large heads, so I don't know how someone went, let's make their heads 20 times bigger, and they'll be more popular with children. I think this is part of the feminization of them, because their large eyes are meant to appeal more towards girls, because they're meant to be girly and cute, and I'm like, I like these ones. So I own none of these, and it's their expressions as well. How much did I actually speak about these? Oh yeah, so they had the same characters as G3, so that's why it's G3.5. But then Hasbro decided to revamp them for, I don't know why. And they weren't actually produced for that long, because we all know what came along in 2010. Generation 4. So these are my fashion style ponies, because I realized when I was making the PowerPoint and just finishing it off, I hadn't put any photos of G4 in, so I had to kind of go with what was on my mobile phone. And it ended up being my fashion style ponies. So these are quite the larger ones. I thought I brought my Luna with me, but I didn't, which makes me really sad. So they were introduced late 2010, along with the G4 television series that we all know and love. It gained a lot of popularity and sparked a lot more collectors. So I was one of those people that came out of loving My Little Pony, and then when this began, I was like, yes, I love them. Oh my God, my childhood. And I now need to get every single pony that was ever made. And it was just amazing to rediscover what made me really passionate as a child and to be able to bring it into my adult life. The character release, compared to most generations, and the TV series as well, was a lot smaller. So you'll see that when you go to buy a new set, there's just Applejack with a different hat, Applejack with a different brush in lots of them. There wasn't too much variation. Like, I know you've got they might be called Magic Motion, but you've got the motion ones, and you've got the ones with tinsel in their hair, but they're just pretty much the same to me, compared to collecting all different characters. Like, when you manage to find, like, a Lyra, it's like, yes, they're finally producing more characters, and then the rest of the set's still the main 6, and you're like, oh, I don't need these. So you have your main 6. So main 6 were first released in brushable form and can be found in many different playsets, but generally remain the same. So they've just kind of carried on, not changed too much. So Twilight Sparkle has some variation. She's quite interesting to look at for, because she originally debuted with a forelock, so a shorter bit on her mane. And then that got phased out to be just the same as everyone else. And then as she became an alicorn, she's been produced with wings, and you can find her as the same mold as Princess Luna and Princess Cadence. What really annoys me is that you can't find Princess Luna in Celestia's style, because, I don't know, I always seen Luna as bigger than Cadence in Twilight, and when they were all stood together, I was like, ugh. But also, one of my favorite ones is this little itty bit Luna. Oh. Goodbye, Minty. But I just find this one quite adorable, because she's just a normal standard size compared to the other ones. But yeah, I think she's quite cute. How are we doing? Ooh, I'm breezing through this. This is a shock. So Fluttershy has also had some slight development too. So she started with more droopy eyes, more like kind of sleepy, softer eyes, but then she moved to the same eye pose. So there's some slight variations, and you can sell normal G4s for next to nothing, but if they've got one of these special attributes, then they're sometimes worth quite a lot, or if they're not main 6 and everyone's after them. There's lots of different versions of these main 6, though. Oh, yeah, I had to put that in. So this was my Easter present from my dad, who went shopping and was like, "You like My Little Pony?" And I was like, "Yes, I do, Dad." And he was like, "Well, I bought you an Easter egg." I was like, "Okay." And then he gave me this, and I was like, "I'm going to have nightmares tonight." So yeah, I just thought I'd pop that in because everyone's seen the pictures of the main 6, and this is another variation. It's so scary to look at still. But yeah, that was interesting. And then when they were in Marks and Spencer's for like £2 after Easter, my dad was like, "Oh, I bought 3 of those Pinkie Pies. They're good chocolate." And I'm like, "So you had them staring at you all that time, Dad?" So yeah. So G4.5 is a new design. So this is a debated sort of thing. Are they G4.5, or it's also known as a G4 reboot? Because it's like G3.5, Hasbro decided to change the molds. It's been quite controversial. Like, some people love it, some people hate it. I don't know where I stand because I still buy them. So, yeah. They're thinner and taller than the previous G4. So, like, if I pick up Minty, who I might have killed, and stand next to Glim Glam, they're slightly taller, a bit skinnier, and they have different mane style. Well, a feel of mane, which it doesn't feel as nice, and it doesn't brush as nice. It just looks like they've never been brushed, which they hadn't been brushed until earlier. So, oops. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the whole characters on one side series, but I really like Rarity and Glim Glam, so I had to buy them. The hair is different material, it doesn't feel as soft. It could be due to safety regulations, because we all know there's a lot of safety regulations now with toy development, and you've got to have everything correct. So maybe. There's more pose variation along the pony, so they're in different poses, which I think all 3 of my 4.5 are in different poses, which is nice. I ended up buying this set just for the Luna. I've got to stop doing that because I did theatre as a degree. So yeah. Male ponies such as Big Mac and Soren have released 2. They have excellent mohawks. Soren's a bit weird. You can take his wings off, which is a bit bizarre. But, you know, if they've changed the hair for safety aspects, removable wings could be a choking hazard, but at least his hair's not going to light on fire. But yeah, I quite like the mohawked ponies. They look quite cool. But it'd be nice to have a normal Big Mac, because the only Big Mac they have is the ones with his face plastered all on the side. So that would be nice. So the future of My Little Pony. So where does it go from here? Because the timeline's still going on. So the My Little Pony franchise is celebrating its 35th anniversary and will hopefully continue to celebrate more. Like, I really hope it will. They're currently re-releasing ponies from G1 molds from Target in America. And recently, today, I found out that they've re-released My Pretty Parlor, and I'm like, I need to find someone in America to get me that, because it looks amazing. But yeah, they bring out, so for like the 25th anniversary, they brought out rainbow ponies. They did bring out the exact same ponies again for the 35th, but just slightly different boxes. So they weren't hugely popular, but now they brought out the parlor, everyone's like, I need. So the new style seems to be less popular compared to the other ones. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm just going to actually say it. Yeah, I prefer my ponies little and cute, and I can put them in my pocket, whereas these just like poke everywhere, and you just say, like, how am I meant to carry you? Will the current excitement wane with the changes to show style? So what's going to happen after the show? Are people still going to be as invested? Are people still going to be wanting to buy? Because a lot of people that do enjoy My Little Pony, they don't buy every single pony like they once did. It's more of a, oh, I like that, I'll throw it in my basket. But it's not the hype and the excitement of running out and being like, yes, these are the new ones. Isn't there, apparently, which I can understand because I've only been at, well, apart from the Luna, I was in the supermarket buying my food and I was like, only a £5. So that's how it went. So overall comparisons. So this is Applejack. Probably one of the easiest ponies to all get together and show comparisons. There's no direct G2 Applejack, so we have the two different options here. So you have the original collector's pose here, looking quite sad but happy. I really love G1. So their expression just makes me want to hug them all. And then you have bow tie pose here, and the baby. This is one that I really would love in my collection. I'm a fan of the babies. I think out of all of Gen 1, the babies are my favourite, which is a very dangerous thing to say because there are a lot of babies. So you can see, like, even just within G1, there's at least three variations of them. When you compare them to G2, their bodies are a lot thinner. They're a lot more, I've seen the phrase skinny horse used a lot. So I think that's why people weren't too fond of them, because they weren't as chunky, they weren't as, I don't know what word to say, but they weren't as impactful. Let's go with that word. They just were really pretty, but I really loved them. I think they're cute. Maybe it's the mouths, I don't know. I don't know why anyone would hate G2. They're amazing, but we all established that I love G2. Then G3, they went back to the chunkier, it was more of a modern version of G1, I reckon. You can see that they've had the faces bigger, whereas these, it's more in, I do not know the word, proportion, that's the word, more in proportion compared to the previous gen and G3. G3 have got really big eyes, so I don't know why they felt the need to make really big eyes in G3.5, but you'll notice that there's a certain gen missing from this. And then we have our little Applejack we know and love today, apart from the G4.5, but this was another picture that I borrowed off my friend Sparkler, and I don't think she's got the G4.5, but overall there's the history of Applejack in a nutshell. So you can see there's always been the theme of apples. So yeah, I think I have actually breezed through this because I'm very nervous. So I'm sorry about that. Is there any questions? Okay, that's good. That might make it last a bit longer. I think the microphone's going to come round, and then just so we can hear you. You choose.
Hello. Great Vortrag or presentation. Great presentation. I have one question. When exactly did the 4.5 generation came to the stores?
It's really hard to find because people started reporting about them in late 2017, but they're still here today as well. So I want to say late 2017 because it might have been leaks from the factory, but it's hard to establish directly. I think I got both mine this year, including the Luna. So okay. Sorry, I can't answer that straight in.
Thank you.
No worries.
Hello, great presentation.
Thank you.
In the beginning you said you couldn't find a Generation 0 pony at a decent price. what's the actual price for an original My Pretty Pony from Generation Zero?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the modern ones because I've kind of given up hope of ever affording one quite right now. But I know one of my friends bought one for just over £100. So, yeah. I think the most I've ever spent on a pony is... I don't know whether I should say. So I think it's around the £35 mark. So not extreme, but yeah, so they are quite expensive. But there's some ponies, such as Rapunzel, which was a mail order pony, and they're about easily £800. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, but I will also add a little short story, if I may. It will be short, I promise. What happened to me recently was that I was starting to working in a new job in a hotel, and the girls on a day shift actually found out that I'm a fan of My Little Pony. So when I came to the night shift once, they told me that I have something behind the computer, and I actually find out that they gave me a G3 Rainbow Dash.
Oh.
So maybe it was a joke on my expense, but I actually find it quite endearing. And so I did a little research and find out that it was probably, according to dates, from a series Reading with Rainbow Dash, which maybe had some book or something like that. It was a little bit worn off, so maybe it was somewhere on a shelf or something. Yeah, but I found it interesting. Anyway, to the question, I wanted to ask. You skipped over the popular recent Guardians of Harmony. I know it's not a series actually, but you completely skipped it over. So I wanted to ask. You don't recognize it, or did you just didn't have it prepared, or?
So what I was mainly researching in was the history of the brushable ponies. So the ones that appear in the toy shops, ones that you can just go in any shop and buy. So where in the UK, the Guardians of Harmony is available from more select shops, so the comic book stores, which isn't usually accessible to everyone. I really want to own the Guardians of Harmony, but I've had to be like, no, I'll stick to brushables. I cannot afford this hobby at all. So yeah, I do recognise Guardians of Harmony. I think they're beautiful sculptures. I really want the Nightmare Moon one.
I bought it here right now, or yesterday, so...
I know, I need to be really good. I'm like, right, I will not. If you can probably tell, I'm obsessed with Princess Luna, and I try and get everything with her on it. But I'm like, no, I'll stick with brushables. I'll be good. So I do recognise them, but for me, I was looking at the brushables and this sort of series. So with G1, G2, G3, G3.5, and G4, there's been so much more than just the brushables. Like, I own a pajama case, which is a giant plushie, which I really wish I'd bought with me, which you put your pajamas in at night, and it's just so cute. It's a sleepy pony, and it's adorable. And I don't want to say where I got it from, because it was a bit too much, but yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
When did Hasbro first come onto the scene?
Pardon?
Hasbro, when did they first come onto the scene? Did they produce My Pretty Pony right at the beginning?
Yeah, so Hasbro, it was under different sort of names, but Hasbro's always had this same carry-on.
So they were the original producers of My Pretty Pony? Yeah.
What I'm wondering on, maybe it's a bit too personal, so whether you or community in general, how do you or other collectors interact with your collection? Is it just something you put on display? Is it something you regularly take out and brush? Do you actually engage with it in some play?
Well, for me, I have just recently moved house, and we've had to get a 3-bedroomed house because the smallest bedroom is my pony room. So I now have, well, I described it to my father as my office, but everyone's like, you just needed it for your ponies. So I haven't lived at home with my parents for 3 years because I've been at university. So I had to, I went and I was like, I don't want to bring them all to university because student halls could be a bit wild. I don't want anything to happen to them. So I actually took most of my collection down, which was really sad. And I've only just recently had them brought back to me, and I've not unpacked them all yet, but my G2s, I currently really frustrated my boyfriend by leaving them in the bathroom drying because they needed a wash. So they were just stood there for weeks until magically one day they appeared in my pony room, and I was like, yeah, I probably should have moved those. But around my house, I just have so many ponies everywhere, which is really nice. I don't really play with them per se, but I brush their hair, I do give them washes. Like, if anyone finds any old My Little Ponies, use whitening toothpaste on a toothbrush, scrub it with that, leave it for like, don't leave it, but like wash it off kind of quickly, but leave it for like 30 seconds, and then it'll be really shiny. Like, I've forgotten which pony. Love Letters, one of my G1s, I got as grey, and she's brilliant white, and so I'd use that trick, and she was really pretty again. So yeah, I take them out to make sure that they're cosmetic and nice. And I'm in the phase of where I've put some of them on display, but I don't like how I put them on display, so I might have to move them all around. So I just keep shuffling them, and whenever I'm stressed, I just go and sit in my pony room and just move some around or take nice pictures. I don't know. Yeah, I just spend too much time with My Little Ponies sometimes. Well, there's not too much time, but yeah, I love being around them. They just make me happy.
Thank you.
Here is. Any more questions?
This might be a little out of a question, but do you notice how often do you see people differently? When did you see Philly Fantasia around?
Sorry.
If it doesn't ring any bells, this kind of answers the question too. But Philly Fantasia is the kind of competitor of My Little Pony.
I've not seen it. I'm kind of narrow-minded.
That's good.
I don't think I can afford to go and collect other things.
No, that's a good thing. Just popped into my mind, so I thought to ask.
I do have a couple of like fakies, which I should have bought Gloria. Gloria is like one of my hideous fakies. She cost me 50p, and she's like this big, and she just has a really sarcastic smile, like. And I'm like, I needed her in my life. So yeah, I collect some fakies, but I tend to stick with these.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Hello, one more question. The mane of some ponies have like little sparkles with them. Is there a special name for this kind of mane, or is there no such name?
Well, amongst people I talk to, we refer to it as tinsel in the mane. So it's not thick, but there's no specific thing to call the mane. We just say mane with tinsel or tinseled mane. I think it makes it look really nice. Like, I love my little Luna with the tinsel. So yeah, but yeah, you can see I quite like sparkly things because I bought 3 ponies with it in. So yeah, I like, if it's got glitter or tinsel mane, I'm probably an owner of it. So yeah, sorry if that didn't answer it too much, but
No, it's fine. Tinseled.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Any more questions? This is great. This is probably going to be more entertaining for you than my presentation.
Yes, hi. Are G1s with slight production defects and no box worth anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I grew up in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, it's the headquarters of Hasbro. And a friend of mine who worked there for a long time has lots of pieces that were given to him that were slightly defective, couldn't be sold. And he's asked me, because my daughter is the My Little Pony fan, and I said, I don't know. I couldn't have any idea if they're worth anything. But so you think they're worth something on the auction market?
Yeah, definitely. Usually, so it's the rare one, sort of rare ones. People like defects and like molds and base ponies. So one of my friends, I've forgotten who, bought a G2 prototype, and that cost them about £300. Oh, wow. So, and the G2 prototype was just essentially, let me grab Julie here, was essentially just all yellow, no mane, no tail, no eyes, no cutie mark, just a body. And that was a shot. But as with everything, the prices vary a lot. But if you're looking to sell, there's a lot of collector groups on Facebook where you can get people who actually know a lot about pricing to be like, oh, this is how much they're worth. So I can't say they're definitely worth a lot, because I don't know what they look like, right. But most G1s in boxes are worth a lot. So, well, not a lot, but like about £40 onwards.
Yeah, they're unboxed. He's just got them sitting around. He's got way too much money, so he doesn't care about them. So I've told him, well, give them to my daughter, and she could sell them or something.
Yeah.
So,
honestly, there's so many outlets now of where to sell them from. And there's quite a lot of big collector Facebook groups as well, which have got so much of my money now. Everyone says, oh, Bex, what are you doing on Facebook? Why are you checking all the gossip? I'm like, I'm buying ponies. So, yeah, hopefully that answered it a little bit. Any more questions?
Okay, one more quick. Over the years, I've seen many various knockoffs, from China and from different countries. I know you collect the originals, so I don't know if you ever seen some of them. If you do, how did you feel about them? Because some of them are actually quite creepy and so on. So did you see some knockoffs, and what did you think about them?
I love seeing knockoffs sometimes. Like, I spoke about one of my favorite fakies, Gloria. She's huge. She's like a giant and compared to them, and I wish I'd bought her because she's great. But sometimes when I'm walking in toy shops, I always play Spot the Fakie. And there's a couple of my because I'm actually from UK PonyCon, so I'm in a group chat with everyone, and I'm like, look at these fakies. And one of my colleagues, Daisy, loves fakies so much, and some of her fakies are fabulous. It will take a special fakie for me to actually purchase it at a normal price, but if I see a unique one at a car boot sale or a charity shop, I'll be like, I buy it for a decent price, but I won't pay what I'd pay for normal ponies. But I love seeing them. There was a toy shop where I used to live at university, and they pretty much were fatter versions in different colours with the same cutie marks as the main six. And I was like, how have they gotten away with these? But yeah, I didn't buy them because I was like, I cannot buy more ponies that aren't these. So yeah, I hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Any more questions? Or oh, you might be free of me. Oh, no. I was about to say, I like the sound of my own voice, but I'm guessing you guys have probably been like, ugh.
The volunteer with the question. So my question is, beside us bronies or adult fans, how well received do you see ponies that fourth generations in regard of younger people, especially children? Are there more, how should I say it? Are they better received than generation 1, 2?
Ooh. I don't know, I'll be quite honest, because it does fluctuate a lot. I think because there's more because people who grew up with G1 are now adults, I think that helped hype it up because they're like buying it for their kids, being like, be part of this amazing thing. I don't know if it's more, or I think in comparison, G 3.5, like everyone didn't like, so let's just... but with G2 and 3, I think they weren't as popular as the original G1 and now the G4. But that's personal opinion. But like, I love G2. I'm regretting opening up all of mine because I just want a room full of G2 staring at me with like their crystal eyes. But yeah, I think I know quite a few children that play with G4. I obviously know more adults that have G4. But yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's kind of one of those weird ones because worldwide figures could be completely different to the small island I'm from. So in the UK, like, I can remember walking into Toys R Us and it being full of G2 everywhere, like 5 different lanes, and being like, this is my heaven. And whereas before the Toys R Us shut down, you only had one little thin bit of G4, which was really sad. Like, it used to be like, oh, I could walk in and buy everything I wanted, whereas now it's like, got. So, I don't know, I think children play with them, but they're a lot more receptive to playing with the same sorts of ponies, whereas I think with the G1s, you could get a different pony every single time. So I don't know. I quite honestly don't know with the time. That's an interesting thing to look at, though. I might actually look that up because, yeah, it's weird seeing because a lot of people who've grown up with My Little Pony, once the G4 hype came back, which I'll be quite honest, it happened to me as well, because all right, my parents actually gave away most of my collection, which I was like, thanks for that, parents. But because when I rediscovered my love, I was like, where are my ponies? And my dad was like, don't know. And I was like, oh. But when I started seeing the G4 hype, I was watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, this just brings back all the memories, how much love and magic I used to feel and everything. And then became a dangerous habit. So I would say my biggest tip is collect one generation only. Actually, no, don't. Collect G2s. If you have to collect one, collect G2s. I've warbled off onto something completely different, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just varies a lot. But I think there was a lot more of different generations available in shops compared to G4 now. You just see a thin display. So, yeah. Wowee. Any more questions? No, that's really good. I have got my ponies down here if you want to come and have a little look, because there's some different ones. I have 3 different versions of Minty, including my little sad one. But thank you, you've been a lovely audience, and I hope you have a fantastic time at GalaCon.